Welcome back to Federal Insights EIS Month, sponsored by Verizon here on Federal News Network. My guest today is Tom Kalatosti, Executive Director for Public Sector Programs Management at Verizon. I'm your moderator, Tom Temin. And let's talk about once an agency has transitioned to EIS, and EIS then can become a platform for modernization. How can they use that vehicle for those modernization goals, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I've got to give kudos to GSA because they really did a nice job constructing this contract vehicle. They solicited a lot of input from industry on how to make this really powerful and what sort of comprehensive suite of services were out there that agencies could take advantage of. I would say given kind of the wide breadth of services that exist on this contract, EIS can really now be the vehicle where agencies can kind of consolidate both their communications and their IT infrastructure and really manage it holistically as a service from end to end, including security throughout. And so there's some exciting things out there. For instance, now we're seeing more movement towards advanced Ethernet technology that'll allow agencies to really deliver more bandwidth than what they're getting on their legacy technologies today. And as I mentioned a little bit previously, they can actually scale up and scale down and throttle based on mission need, which is I think that sort of cost to serve, or that sort of as a service model, or that consumption-based model is going to be a little bit more as cost beneficial for them. The other thing I would say is, again, as we mentioned, software-defined networking. What they can really do now is extricate the control plane from the data plane now, and this provides them a lot more control at the software layer. It's very similar to what virtualization did for infrastructure or what SAN did for storage, for example, and so they can manage this a lot more cost-effectively by doing it at the software layer. And as you sort of increase this type of network and application visibility, what it does is also improve, as a byproduct, your cybersecurity capabilities. It becomes way easier to implement automated tools, to apply continuous monitoring. And as these networks become more transparent, it really opens up a lot of opportunities to do things like cyber risk scoring, which we're seeing a lot with insurance companies and others, where agencies can actually get custom cyber report cards on their security postures. And the final thing I would just say is really just around, now there's a greater suite of wireless offerings available. And whereas agencies in the past may have had difficulty getting, true, real, full path diversity locations, they can now do things like take advantage of 4G or even 5G backup solutions. So they have both a wireline primary and a wireless backup, or in some circumstances, they could even replace their fiber connectivity altogether with primary LTE, and they can do out-of-band modem management with wireless devices as opposed to doing it through modems. So it's a very flexible contract. It also allows you to bring on a large ecosystem of partners, so that integrators like Verizon can really provide fully integrated solutions like enhanced call centers, security solutions, network operation services, et cetera. And all of this can be consumed as an as-a-service basis for these customers.
Yeah, so there's efficiencies, and then there are probably also technical advantages. What are some of those, such as higher bandwidth, this kind of thing, reduced latency, especially important as you do converge everything onto one single infrastructure, which I guess is a combination of wired and wireless, but one logical.
Yeah, so what's happening is you're absolutely right. We're moving things onto one single infrastructure. And historically, we looked at the network kind of really just simply as a transport mechanism. And now I think what agencies are able to do is look at it as a catalyst for intelligence gathering as a whole. So if you look at it, agencies are seeing tremendous increase of volumes of data across their enterprise, both on their wireline networks and on their wireless networks. Some of the micro trends we're seeing is IP traffic is now measured in zettabytes. Connected IoT devices have tripled over the past couple of years. And more data is traversing into the cloud and off-premise based environments. And so with all of this data comes a need, I think, to parse, to process, and to analyze it faster and separate true data or true information from data. And so you may have heard of something called multi-edge access compute, or MEC. And what this really allows a user to do is be able to reduce a lot of latency by taking much of the compute that exists and is done in the data center today and actually move it to the edge of their network. And so now with this movement, agencies can really more rapidly apply a lot of machine learning into their mission spaces and do it through real-time processing. And ironically, with all of that data, one of the great byproducts of this is that as compute kind of moves towards the edge, less data is really needed, I think, to be transported to the data center as a whole, and less bandwidth is needed to go to the data center because you're seeing a lot of kind of data reduction happening on the edge. So there's a lot of exciting things, I think, for agencies to take advantage of.
All right, so I guess it's time to get with the program. I want to thank today's guest. Tom Kalatosti is Executive Director for Public Sector Programs Management at Verizon. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Tom.
And I'm your moderator, Tom Temin. You're listening to Federal News Network. For more on this discussion, visit federalnewsnetwork.com and search EIS Month.